Imagine for a moment that beneath your feet or just a few kilometers from where you live, there lies a secret locked away, a weapon capable of annihilating everything around it in the blink of an eye, an invisible threat, forgotten with time, but never truly erased. Even more unsettling, some of these secrets are lost, missing, perhaps waiting to be found or triggered. Somewhere in the world, these ghosts of the past linger, and the question remains, what would happen if one of them were accidentally discovered? Currently, there are approximately 15,600 nuclear weapons scattered around the world. Just one of them could be enough to completely destroy the city you're in as you watch this video. Maybe it hasn't crossed your mind before, but how close are you right now to one of these bombs, waiting silently to unleash its apocalypse? If you're watching this video from somewhere south of the equator, whether it's South America, Africa, or another country in those regions, congratulations. There are no known nuclear weapons in your country, so you can breathe a little easier. Like polar bears, nuclear weapons seem to prefer the Northern Hemisphere. But if you're watching from any of the countries marked in red on this map, then yes, there are nuclear weapons somewhere nearby, and you're likely closer to one than you realize. Here's a map showing the estimated locations of nuclear weapons worldwide. Each dot can represent thousands of weapons. As you can see, the majority are concentrated in the United States, Western Europe, Russia, Israel, along the India-Pakistan border and East Asia. Now let's zoom in on the United States for a closer look. The US stores its nuclear weapons in 10 states and across multiple sites. For example, the Pacific Coast Storage Area is just 29 kilometers from Seattle. Another base is literally located within the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, serving as the headquarters of the Kirtland Underground Munitions Maintenance and Storage Complex. This name might not ring a bell, but it's actually the largest concentration of nuclear weapons in the world. The size of the site is staggering, spanning 28,000 square meters entirely underground, with the capacity to store over 3,000 bombs, roughly 19% of all nuclear weapons on Earth. Many of the weapons stored there are waiting to be carefully decommissioned. When the time comes, they are transported out of the base and onto Interstate 40, where they are carried to a facility in Amarillo, Texas. This is one of the most significant locations in the country for dismantling nuclear weapons. The complex, which occupies a vast area, is situated just a few kilometers from the city of Amarillo, home to over 200,000 residents. The close proximity of a nuclear disarmament facility to a densely populated urban area raises serious safety concerns. In the event of a leak or incident, the impact could be catastrophic for the local population, with both immediate and long-term consequences due to the potential for radioactive contamination. Despite strict safety measures and protocols, the inherent risks of operating such a facility near an urban area continue to worry environmentalists and residents alike. Beyond the direct physical dangers, the presence of a nuclear site so close to a city creates a constant sense of unease among the Amarillo community. Many local families feel like they are living under the shadow of a nuclear threat, knowing that any accident could lead to widespread consequences affecting public health and the environment. Even with the stringent regulations in place, the Pantex plant remains a topic of frequent debate about whether nuclear operations should be conducted near civilian populations. So, if you've ever driven between Albuquerque and Amarillo, there's a small chance you unknowingly passed a truck carrying a nuclear bomb. Heading a bit further north, we find America's armed nuclear response, a massive region dotted with nuclear silos ready to be activated by the President of the United States if necessary. Hundreds of silos are scattered across Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Colorado. This particular silo, located in Colorado, is the closest to a major city, just 124 kilometers, about 77 miles north of Denver. The only other places in the United States where nuclear weapons are stored are at this base in Missouri, approximately 88 kilometers, 55 miles, from Kansas City, and this naval base in Georgia, located just 51 kilometers, 32 miles north of Jacksonville, Florida. These are all the known nuclear weapons on this continent. Now let's cross the Atlantic and take a look at Europe. The United States is the only country in the world that keeps nuclear weapons stationed in other countries, including Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, and Turkey. These nuclear weapons are stored at specific sites within those countries, and some are located alarmingly close to major cities such as Rotterdam, Venice, Milan, Cologne, and Brussels. The United Kingdom and France possess their own nuclear weapons, in addition to the US stockpile in Europe. In the UK, these weapons are stored near Glasgow and London. In France, they are located near Marseille and in the central region of the country. In the Middle East, the only known nuclear weapons belong to the United States, stored in Adana, Turkey. However, it's highly likely that Israel also maintains nuclear weapons at centralized locations within the country, all less than an hour apart and near Jerusalem. Returning to Europe, Russia holds the largest stockpile of nuclear weapons in the world, but keeps their exact locations a tightly guarded secret. Using publicly available information and well-researched estimates, we can infer that Russian nuclear weapons are spread across the country, but concentrated near key cities like Moscow, St. Petersburg, Vladivostok, and Saratov. In Saratov, a city of nearly 1 million people, there is a missile division, a strategic bomber base, and a storage facility collectively housing over 1,000 nuclear warheads, about 6% of the world's total nuclear arsenal. Heading over to Asia, we see the estimated locations of nuclear weapons possessed by Pakistan and India. The only other nuclear weapons on this continent belong to China and North Korea. China likely has its nuclear weapons stored throughout the country at these estimated sites, while North Korea remains a complete mystery regarding the locations of its nuclear arsenal. North Korea has conducted 5 nuclear tests so far and is believed to currently possess between 15 and 22 nuclear weapons. Exactly where these weapons are stored within North Korea is unknown. However, considering that South Korea's largest city and capital, Seoul, is just 56 kilometers, 35 miles from the North Korean border, it's likely that the North has at least some of its nuclear weapons positioned relatively close. Perhaps the most chilling aspect, though, is the existence of lost nuclear weapons, bombs that somehow went missing and whose current locations remain unknown. Over the course of history, the United States has confirmed the loss of 11 different nuclear weapons. Many of these are at the bottom of the ocean, such as when a plane carrying a nuclear bomb accidentally slid off an aircraft carrier and sank into the Pacific Ocean, just 129 kilometers, 80 miles, off the coast of Japan's Ryukyu Islands. Or the time a bomber carrying 2 nuclear bombs over the Mediterranean Sea disappeared in a storm and was never seen again. But then there are incidents that are truly unsettling, like the plane crash in North Carolina that dropped 2 hydrogen bombs over the area. Neither detonated. One was found stuck in a tree, but the other actually hit the ground and buried itself 50 meters, 165 feet deep. The government was never able to recover it and ended up purchasing the land around the crash site to prevent anyone from digging and attempting to find it in the future. Another plane crashed near Greenland, dropping 4 hydrogen bombs onto the icy island. While 3 of the bombs were recovered, 1 broke through the ice and remains lost to this day. Perhaps the most alarming case of a missing nuclear weapon is that of a bomber that crashed off the coast of Georgia, releasing its nuclear bomb into the Atlantic Ocean. The bomb landed less than a kilometer from the state's shoreline and just 19 kilometers from the city of Savannah, home to over 100,000 people. To this day, it has never been recovered, and if, for any reason, the bomb were to detonate, it could potentially wipe out the entire city. In 1966, a US B-52 bomber collided with a tanker aircraft during mid-air refueling over Spain near the village of Palomares. The collision caused 4 hydrogen bombs to fall. 3 were recovered on land, but the 4th plunged into the sea and was only found after an exhaustive search lasting nearly 3 months. The incident left radioactive contamination in the area, and efforts to clean it up remain a topic of debate to this day. And if all of this isn't enough to keep you awake at night, consider this. Russia is believed to have lost up to 40 of its own nuclear weapons, in addition to the ones lost by the United States. This means there could be as many as 51 missing nuclear weapons scattered across the globe, waiting to be discovered either intentionally or accidentally. And no one can say with certainty where they are.